Hey, good morning, Misfits. It is Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. It is, let me mute this over here. It is Sunday, January 20th, 19th, 2020. It is the weekend edition. I hope everybody's having an amazing day. And now we're recording over here on Zoom. Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, January 19th, 2020. How's everybody doing this morning?
I'm feeling wonderful. How are you doing?
Outstanding, Latoya. Great to have you here.
Yes, same as well. Thank you.
You bet. And Monique, were you asking me about putting the polls on in YouTube? I found it again last night.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. There's when you get to like the stats page, and there's three little buttons up on the top right, and I think the farthest right red button where it says if you want to go with to go live or to upload or to go do something else. I think it is to add a poll to community under community.
Okay.
So if you go into community, there's three little red buttons up there on the top right, and that's where you can add the poll.
Perfect. I'll check that out. Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, there's Steph. How are you, Steph? Good to have you here, girl.
Thank you. I'm sick, but I'm good.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, because you said you might be missing some, so I'm glad you're here on this one. Good morning, everybody. Go ahead and send out your three messages, your three moments, your three memories of somebody that's pretty amazing to you, somebody that you absolutely love and enjoy. Send that out to them. Send them a little note saying that you love them, you care about them, you think they're amazing, and yeah, watch what happens when the world sends you back a note saying, you know what, you're pretty special as well.
I'd like to send out my message to the whole group.
Please send it. There you go. Way to go, Bob. It just goes to show you might have to grow a little older, but you ain't got to grow up.
You got that right.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Anybody have any ahas, any awarenesses, any awakenings as we get started here? If you do, well, we got a small enough group here right now. This is the kind of groups that I was used to till y'all started sharing this with each other, and that's amazing. But anybody have any little ahas or questions or challenges? Raise your hand, and we'll just have a quick opening call and see what goes on from there. But if not, that's okay. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of a conversation, a little bit of a dialogue, and then we'll open it up again for Q&A and see if we'll get to that a little bit quicker today. Let's see, where did my slide go? We're over here. Over here. So I'm at least looking towards the camera. Okay. Any of you know of Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist, right? He wrote the book, The Alchemist. He's written some other books. I've referenced them a couple of times. Another one is Manuscript Found in a Craw. That one is just absolutely brilliant. But it's a story. It's a story, but the way that he weaves a message through that whole thing. But he's got a note that comes out of Manuscript from a Craw. It's a story of. It's a story of this person. There's this, long story short, there's this battle that's about to rage outside the walls, and somebody says, how are we supposed to tell our children we're about to face battle? How are we supposed to do it if we're scared? And this is the response. The cop, which is the main character in the book, the cop shares this story. And it's about fearful. It's about being scared. So the question I have for you before I pop this up here is, have you ever been scared? And I know the answer to that. I would believe the answer to that for all of us is yes. And then what is the part of us that's scared? See, on these calls, I kind of take you at a fairly quick pace, sometimes a breakneck pace into awareness, into you being in charge of you, you being the one responsible for you, into actually making a very clear conversation that of all of the people that can help you, you're the one. And then you to realize that sometimes you're not the one that's helping yourself. So then we get fearful. False evidence appearing real, right? That's the one we say a lot, face everything and run, all of those things. But the false evidence appearing real is because the brain's pulling up the stories. The reason it doesn't seem false, the reason that it seems true, the reason that it seems to be effective is because it's something that has actually happened to us. It's a story we've told to us. I said on one of the calls here just the last couple of days, research is now saying that up to 50% of our memories, 50% of our memories are made up. They're not the way the real thing went down. So let me share this with you. So they asked Cop, which was this person who was from out of town, and he became the centralized character in the story. They said, what do we do when we're scared? How do we fight this? How do we deal with this? There's thousands of them outside the wall, and there's only hundreds of us in here. And the cop said this: tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. How many of you have gotten to the other side of a challenge, the other side of an issue, the other side of a breakup, the other side of a really hard thing, and it was all of the suffering before the thing actually happened that was worse than the thing that needed to happen? If you can laugh now, and before the thing happened, before the suffering ended, you weren't laughing, if you can laugh now, the fear of suffering was worse than the suffering itself. And then listen to this: and that no heart has ever suffered. No heart, doesn't say brain, doesn't say mind, doesn't say memory. And that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams. How many of you, when you're on your pursuit, when you're tucked in, when you're tuned in, when you're fired up, turned on, and heading what? Godward, onward, and upward? No heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is the second's encounter with God and with eternity. What does Sadhguru say? In this moment, you have a choice, misery or joy. In this second, you have a choice, memory or joy. Misery or joy. And in this moment has an encounter, gives you an encounter. This moment gives you an encounter with God and with eternity. Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. How many times do we believe, maybe, possibly, that the suffering that we're existing, that we're seeing, that we're doing is the reason for us to stall ourselves? So and then there's one more thing I want to share with you here when we get to it here in just a little bit. So some feedback on that. So first of all, welcome everybody. I see a whole bunch of more people just joined us. Great to have you all here. There's Rob Cardenas in the house, one of the founding misfits, along with Mr. Bob Parks. Let's see who else is here. Awesome. Great to have you all here. So make sure you send out your 3 messages. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great to have you all here. Go ahead and send out your 3 messages. And these messages, maybe they're designed, maybe they are just for you. Maybe they are just to give you some space. Maybe they are to you to feel connected. So I'll ask you this for somebody that might be sitting here. I just heard this in my head. Well, I don't know. I don't have anybody to send messages to. Who in your life, if they walked into your room right now, if they, besides you being scared, but if they walked into your room, you'd be like, you know what? I was just thinking of you. Who would that be? Send the messages out to them. Just a thank you. You're not writing a book to them, although maybe you need to. But you just want to start off with saying, you know what? I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being you. You made me smile yesterday. I got to brag on you on a call this morning. Does that make sense? Just have a conversation, just something to say to them, something to make them feel a little bit better. So with that little bit that we had, that little piece of that's a phrase I use when I do emceeing, when I'm an MC for companies. I speak around the globe, but there's a big one that happens here in Dallas. Some of you are at it, the ANMP. I've been asked again to be the MC again this year at that event, so I'm looking forward to that at the end of May, last Thursday of May, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that. ANMP. Anyways, but I use that because that's something, and there's one particular speaker that I like to introduce with that passage, if you will. No heart has ever suffered when it's in true search of its goals. Maybe the suffering you have is maybe because you're not quite in the true search of your goals. So, again, good morning, everybody. So how do we deal with that? How do we work with the conversation that says, I don't want to suffer anymore? How do I deal with these challenges? If you've written down your goals today and you've looked at them and you're going to say, you know what, I've got some things to do here today, and have you ever gone off on a path towards your goals and then fallen a little bit short on them? Because it's a math problem, right? How many thoughts do we have on average a day? You guys probably should know that answer by now. How many thoughts do we have on average per day? If I were to ask you that question, right? Yeah, 70,000, 60 to 70,000 thoughts. How many of them are repetitive? What percentage of those 70,000, 60 to 70,000 thoughts are repetitive? Science says we have on average that many thoughts. Yeah, 90%. Oh, you like that? The disappearing cup. Woo! Yeah, 90%. So you set a goal today. Today you're going to drink more water. Because I just saw who popped up the woohoo. Whoa. You're going to drink more water. I'm going to drink more water. I'd ask you the question, have you been drinking more water? You don't need to respond. You and I probably know the answer to that. Because you've got 90% of yesterday saying, you know what? You can't do it. You know what? You're not good enough. If you drank the water, you know how easy, you know how healthy you'd get? And we've got our old story running through our head. Mason is 16, and I guess he's getting to that age where it's important to kind of look good, right? Because a lot of high school kids, a lot of freshmen and sophomores, and even people on into early adulthood with acne. And so he knows that just drinking some water and eating some decent food on occasion, but water is a huge thing to help keep the skin clear. Scrubbing your face every day. Is it easy to scrub your face every day, to wash your face every day? Yep. What's it also easy not to do? Scrub your face and put some water on it, drink some water. So in the last month or so, he's been doing that. And his face has cleared up dramatically. And then there's the recognition of it, right? Kids aren't going to go, wow, your face looks a lot better. So when there's the little things that happen in our families' lives that we can recognize them for, the things they should be doing, right? Shouldn't he be drinking the water? Shouldn't he be scrubbing his face every day? You would think that would be a normal thing. But then again, you take the brain of a 16-year-old, a 16-year-old boy on top of that. I say all of that to say this. We need to be reminded of our own greatness. We need to be reminded of our own potential. It's a math problem. You have one thought. You have two. How many times did you think about your goals yesterday? I promise you, it wasn't even half of the thoughts you had. Half of the thoughts you had were things that were keeping you stuck, things that we wanted to keep you where you were. How many times can you think about your goals? It's why Tony Robbins talks about having a touchstone. And so here on my desk is a stone. Let's see if you can read that. It says Slovenia. So this is a stone that I took. I have a very dear friend, Barbara Pogorchek. She lives in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, Slovenia. Anybody ever been to Slovenia? Oh my gosh, what an amazing, you got to go to Blood Castle. You got to go down to the restaurant that's on the other side of the lake and have the white cake. It is like the best little white fluffy cake in the world. But this stone sitting on my desk right here is probably, well, the stone's a lot older. I've had it in my possession for about 14 years. And it was given to me by Alexandria, who is now on the Olympic team for the Slovenians in gymnastics. She was a baby. She was like 5 years old when she gave me this stone. I also carry something from them in my wallet. I'll show you that. Somebody remind me about that when I have my wallet in here. But they wrote me a handwritten note, and they signed their name, and one of them says, "You smell like dirt." But this touchstone reminds me of that moment, walking in behind their house down by the stream, and she picked the stones up. I watched her pick the stones up and hand them to me. So I can have that whole memory 14 years later. I can have 15 years later. I can have that whole memory with just by looking at the stone, just by touching that stone. I can feel the air that it was, the daytime it was. It was after lunch. We had taken a nap around their pool. And there's a picture of me. I'd actually passed out in one of the lounge chairs, just absolutely out cold. It's a great memory. See, while I was talking about that, while I was focused on that, while you were listening to me, if you were listening to me, you weren't having some of those 90,000 other thoughts that were keeping you stuck. You lowered it. You lowered it just maybe by a couple of hundred thoughts, maybe even by 1,000 thoughts. This is what happens when you make a decision. When the heart is in pursuit of its dream, there is not a single heart that's ever suffered. When you are falling in love, you don't suffer. You have excitement, enthusiasm, nervousness, all of this stuff. You don't suffer. When what you think is the heart's pursuit is gone, that's when your brain steps in and starts to make it suffer. In this moment, you choose joy. In this moment, you choose misery. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. So let me pop up one more thing here to share with you. Any questions, thoughts, anything ringing into somebody, anybody having something that just absolutely, like, it's kind of like screaming in your ear? What am I looking for? I'm looking for this. So there's a presentation I do. Let me see if this is the right one. Yes. So there's a presentation I do in a training that I do. It's kind of a lead magnet training. It's a little workshop I do for 4 weeks. It's normally a $500 training. And so here's a couple of slides out of it. And one of those slides, the Paulo Coelho slide, is like the first one. So let me see if I can get this to, where do I want this to go? Okay, so, and share screen. And I just adapted it for us here a little bit, but I'm only going to show you a couple slides of it because, but I want to go to this slide. So Brittany, just give me a nod if you can see that slide, see that screen. Okay, good. Thank you. Understanding makes it less painful. At least you know where the pain's coming from. At least you can make a difference and make a decision, right? So, let's see here. How do we go to the next piece? What do we really know about anything? What do we really know about anything? Take how much of everything that you know. How much of everything do you know? And then how much of everything don't you know? Isn't it amazing how we even survive through the day? The earth is spinning through space. The sun is spinning through space. Some gravitational force is keeping us perfectly positioned so that we don't burn up or we don't freeze. It allows the moon to orbit in such a way that it becomes luminous at some points because of its ability to reflect stuff. Saturn is doing what Saturn's doing. How many of you woke up wondering, hoping and praying that Pluto is going to stay where it's supposed to stay? Because the universe is habitualized. It has become a habit to us. How many of us are glad the sun isn't turning into a supernova right now? All of these things, there's so many things we should be absolutely excited before, but no, we have one little pissy thought and we're like, oh, the world sucks. The world doesn't even care. Of all of the millions of galaxies that are out there, we're just one. If our galaxy disappeared, would it even be known in the universe? How many universes are colliding and exploding right now into each other? We don't know. But yet we have a little thought. The waiter was late with our coffee. Our food was overcooked or undercooked, and we flip out? Really? So here's Paulo Coelho's comment, right? We just talked about this. Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that the heart is no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is the second's encounter with God in eternity. I think this is doing. So here's what I go into in the training in real deep dive. There's 6 key areas where you need to really focus on. There's 6 key areas where you need to set up some rules and some boundaries. And they're called personal motivation and it's called motivation and ability. Those are the two main branches. So if you're going to set a goal today, you say you want to, let's go with drink water. Personal motivation would be, what's the learning? What's the desire? What's the thing what makes the undesirable desirable? Right? You want to go exercise every day. I want to walk 10,000 steps every day. I can tell you yesterday, I didn't get in 10,000 steps. I didn't make the undesirable desirable yesterday. If there's something you wanted to do yesterday, read 10 pages of a good book, to journal some. You didn't make the undesirable desirable. So your personal motivation needs to start there. Then this part 2 of that is your social motivation, right? I have a tendency, and now I'm thinking about starting to do some videos on TikTok, because now it seems like there's a lot of older people getting into there, and they've been doing it for a while. I was one of an early adopters of that, only because of the stories I heard about if you could type in certain, handles or codes, some of the things that you would see. So I was doing it as a protection for Mason early on to make sure I understood it. And he never did get into TikTok, and it was called something before that. I forget what it was called before that. But the social motivation, harness peer pressure. See, if we can harness peer pressure, what I mean by that is harnessing peer pressure is how many of us believe there's peer pressure out there right now? How many of us that are absolutely these beautiful souls like Brittany, as beautiful as she is and as big of a smile that shows up as she does, sometimes she'll look at a picture and she'll go, I got to get one like that. Oh my God, I've got to do this, right? We all just do it. The good news is, there's not a whole lot I can compete with when you're this beautiful 20-something-year-old with an amazing body and a beautiful hair. I'm not going to be going, I got to go get my short skirt on. That doesn't even cross my mind. I got to go work on my glutes at the gym. I'm Irish. I left my ass in my other pants. I don't have a butt. So I don't have to worry about stuff like that. What I'm saying is that there is peer pressure out there. And sometimes we're letting it drive us in the wrong direction. What if we were able to harness that peer pressure? What if you were to find a community? Like right now, we've got 38 folks, amazing souls who are on this call. We've had over 200 on this call. Where are those people today? Where are those people today? Well, they're sleeping in, they're doing something. They got a story, their personal motivation. They made they didn't make the undesirable desirable. So now how do you harness peer pressure? Sometimes we go out and we have accountability coaches. Anybody scuba dive? Type SD if you scuba dive. Just type SD in the chat if you scuba dive. The birds will get some. So Daniela, you scuba dive, right? What's the thing they said in training? When you go scuba diving, you always got to have your what? What do you always got to have? Wow. Ralph looks like who did David, Goliath. He looks like Goliath. He's Goliath. Either he's got a hot coffee or he's doing some ironing. He's making some homemade gumbo, some homemade spaghetti, chili, something. He's cooking, baby. Ralph is cooking in the kitchen. So we have a safety buddy, right? We have a safety diver. We dive with a safety. We have our dive buddy. So I'd encourage you for your social peer motivation, find a dive buddy. Now find somebody who has as much to gain as you do, as much to pour into you as you do. Now, if you're going to go find somebody who's your partner, who's your peer, you got to set some ground rules, right? So if you're going to use social motivation, you got to put some ground rules in place. Now, if you get a mentor is somebody who, it doesn't matter whether you win or not, but they're going to hold your feet to the fire. But they're not going to be tied to your excuses. They're not going to be tied to your pain. They're going to be there to help you. They're going to be there to guide you. They're going to be there to bring you value. So the challenge is here's the biggest thing they have in psychology. Some of you may be psych students. I didn't make it that far. But here's what I do understand from thousands and thousands of hours of listening to people. It's very possible. It's very real. Well, let me put it this way. How many of you have ever been deciding to go do something and you were going to go to the gym, but instead you went to the ice cream parlor instead? You both agreed to be not so to cheat, if you will, to not be good about something. We've all done it, because here's what happens. When you're in a dialogue, right? Every dialogue has what's called a pool of safety. And this pool of safety is literally this entity, this thing that sits between the two of you. It's called the pool of dialogue. And you can easily contaminate that pool of dialogue, and you make it no longer viable, easy to swim in. You cannot survive in that pool of dialogue. And what happens is typically what psychologists talk about, the running across the floor phenomenon, is you have to be careful when you're mentoring somebody, when you're coaching somebody, that you don't fall into their misery, which is the biggest challenge for many people who have not been trained in this field, is that their pain of the person you're mentoring. I was on the call last night. I was out texting with somebody, an amazing soul, at 4:00 this morning. I was going to wake up this morning and say, you know what, my body's telling me I'm tired, but I believe I have enough energy to make it through the day. And in about 10 minutes of thinking, being on this call with you, my body was no longer tired. So thank you all. But at 4:00 this morning, he said, I've been trying to work with my group and they're not listening. They're waiting for me to have my success. They say they call themselves leaders. I go, they're not leaders. But what had happened is that those people who were calling themselves leaders, their misery ran down on the floor, across the road, and up their leg, and all three of them were having pity parties. They're not leaders if they're not even getting on calls. They're not leaders if their back office isn't active. Don't have somebody tell you they're a leader. You can't believe they're a leader if they're not doing the action steps that show they're a leader. So that's where we sometimes get lost in the social motivation. We become demotivated. So structural motivation. So if you're going to drink water I would encourage you to go get a gallon jug. Don't count on you counting your cups, right? If we were talking about, I'm going to drink a gallon of water a day. My jug's out in the kitchen. I'm going to drink 4 of these bottles of water a day, 5 of these bottles of water a day. I don't even know how many ounces they're 1 liter. So I'm going to drink 4 of these a day, 4 liters, right? I'm going to put 4 bottles out. Now, I do that. My bride gets a little skitsy because she doesn't like clutter. And yesterday, 3 of the bottles are still out. She goes, well, why don't you just grab the bottles out of the cabinet? She wants me to drink the water, but she doesn't want to have the house messy either. Y'all get that? So what is your structural motivation to allow you to reach your goals? You're going to talk to 10 people a day. Do you put sticky notes up and just put number 1 through 10 and you save the sticky notes for tomorrow? Right? You just stack them on top of each other. What is the structural? What are the things you can put in the physical world to allow your emotional world to be reminded that you can't afford to lose? See, we knew Ralph was cooking because the structural motivation, the structural thing was the steam coming up. We saw the steam. If he didn't turn that stove off, or if he turned it up too high, he would burn it. He knows what it's like to fail at potentially cooking. He knows what a failure would look like, what it would sound like, what he would experience like. Not that he ever fails, but he knows that sometimes he gets caught up someplace else and the bottom of the pot burns. And it's like, don't stir the pot. Don't stir the pot because you're going to scrape off all of the burnt stuff. So what is your structural motivation? Do you see what we're doing here? All too often, we work on maybe 1 and maybe 4. We work on number 1 and number 4. Success is so predictable. It is a freaking math game. And you're trying to do subtraction when you really need to do multiplication. You're trying to say, I'm going to reduce distractions. You ain't got no distractions. You ain't got no distractions. You can only have distractions if you have traction. And it's rare that you have traction. Right now, I see Ralph stirring the food. He's got traction. Somebody calls with an emergency. What does he do? He stops that forward momentum. He doesn't leave the pot on the stove. He'll turn the heat off. He'll come back to it. It may be ruined. It may need to reach a certain boil. It didn't happen, but that's only because an emergency became more important. How many of us are letting the urgent become important and the urgent isn't important? So now what's your personal ability? Go back to drinking water. Can you drink a gallon of water every day? Would your body absorb it? Are you in a place where you can go pee? You follow me? But I mean, just let's be real about it. If you're in church and you got to sit through an 8-hour sermon in church, you're probably not going to be drinking a whole lot of water because Father's going to yell at you. You got a 2-hour test coming up. You go pee before you go into the classroom. But we don't look at these things, your personal ability. One of the things that was delaying me was the fact that I needed one more screen. I have 3 screens right now in front of me. You know how much more productive I came with that other screen? But you know what I would hear from Mason? Mason's got 2. He's got his laptop and he's got a monitor. He's like, Dad, what do you need 3 screens for? And that would always run in the back of my head when I would go to Costco, or I would see screens in Marketplace on Facebook for $20. I go, God, I don't even know if I could do 3 screens on this computer. I guess I could do 3. You know how long I delayed this success? So I reduced my personal ability. Now I can do things almost lightning fast because I can have my trainings up here that I'm working on. I can have research over here, and I can have the slides over here. And I have the syllabus of my trainings up here as I'm creating. So now with this, I'm done as opposed to having to do clicks. Y'all follow me? How many of you have taken a Snapchat of this and are going to tag me in this page? Because you know this is powerful. This comes out of a book called Influence. It's also a conversation in critical conversation, crucial conversations. So personal ability, surpass your limits. And then social ability, find strength in numbers. Social motivation was harness your peer pressure. Who's going to be jealous when you succeed? Harness that. Use that as fuel. Use that fight as fuel. And then social ability is find strength in numbers. I promise you, if you had one eye in the middle of your head, I could find you a meeting on Thursday for you guys. At 7 o'clock, there's a meeting for people with one eye in the middle of their head somewhere in the world. I promise you we could find them. So what's your strength in numbers? When you say you get onto your team calls, are they really team or are they competitive competition calls? You know how you can change the social ability real quick and the social motivation? How many of you have ever made a comment on somebody's post, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, and it leaves you a place, and there's a little place to where you can, on IG, it's just you can fill in the heart, right? You can send a heart back. On Facebook, you can do like, love, laugh, sadness, wow. And now on LinkedIn, you can actually do that as well. You can clap, you can I think you can like it, you can promote it or do something. I'm not familiar with all of that. How many of you see a post that's absolutely amazing and you read some of the other comments and they're absolutely amazing, but you don't recognize it? Listen carefully. If you want to change some algorithms in your world, start liking the comments other people leave. You want to create some more friends in your world, start liking the comments other people leave. One of the most challenging things I have as a group leader in some of these organizations, there's one group that I'm a part of that I'm in we've got 60,000 people. There's another one on our team that has actually they have 1.6 million followers. There's another one that has 85,000 people. And these people, somebody puts up a post and there's 400 likes right away. But you know what there's not? Nobody liking any of the 400 likes. They got 30 comments and not one single person has liked anybody else's comments. Wait a minute, I thought we were part of a community here. Where does it say you're not allowed to like other people's comments? You want to change your status in your social world and your online world? Start liking other people's comments on posts that you like. What's that thing? I wish I could just find more people like me. Well, if they made a comment on a post you like their stuff. I promise you they'll be reaching out to you. You like my stuff? That's cool. I checked out your profile. You're pretty neat. Why do we have to make it so hard? Why do we have to say in this world where we're so connected, where we have so many quote friends and so many quote followers, why does everybody feel so freaking alone? Because you stroll into a post that has 10 comments on it and you don't like any of them. Could you imagine what that would be like if you walked into a bar, or you walked into a coffee shop, and you walked into your favorite coffee shop and there's 9 other people there who absolutely love the coffee shop, but you walked in and went, I'm not going to talk to you. You're in my favorite coffee shop. What are you doing here? You want to go get some love from an influencer? Go like some of the, I promise you, go like some of the likes of other people's posts. Make a comment. Go like some of the other people's posts on an influencer. You want to connect with an influencer? You'll show up at the top of their fan page, their top of their fan list. And then structural ability, change your environment. Put the water out. Put the water out, make it out there. Have somebody hold you accountable. Put a timer on your phone. Put a time. Have Alexa set you a timer. Alexa, set a timer for 30 minutes. Alexa, cancel timer. She just, because she heard her, right? Does this make sense? If you worked on just this, if you used this slide with all of your activities today, listen, I just gave you the glue. I just gave you the gold. It's easy to do. Guess what else? It's easy not to do. So then what happens in the training is I go deep dive into one of those. I'll spend an hour, maybe 2 hours on each one of those. That's 12 hours of conversation just on this slide to help you customize and create your own personal success story. So what'd you learn? What'd you like from that? If you've got some questions or want to make some comments, raise your hand. Click somewhere. I forget how to tell. I don't remember how to tell you how to raise your hand, but there's a place you can do that. We'll have some dialogue about it. And if there's any aha that you've had from this week, from any of the calls and conversation. I think it's cute. My assistant made this slide up with the 3 books that I have. That's kind of cool. Latoya, go ahead. We've got Latoya on line 1.
Well, great day. Good morning. Thank you, Sean, for having this call. Thank you all for being on this call as well. I have a question as far, first of all, I thank you for these calls because I learn something every day and I apply it. You know, I learn to apply it more into my life, right? So I'd like to know about, it opened me up to be more transparent. And I like to ask you this question, like, would you agree like that these questions right here helps a person also be more transparent with intention behind it? Like for example, like some people hide who they really are. You know, they hide their old stories. They don't want to share. And you know, I know you're bringing up like when we think we're good at hiding our self, we put on this mask like everything's good. It kind of like lower the transparency. So I said, would you agree like this opens up a person to be more transparent with good intention?
Well, I don't know if it's good intention. I believe it
Okay.
is. But
Okay.
what it does do
Okay.
is it gives you a breath of reality that
Okay.
of how weak the old story was.
Gotcha. Right? Okay.
So because you had intention to not do it.
Right.
Right. So it's not about having more intent. We don't need more intention. We
Okay.
need to be able to focus the intention to produce a positive result. See, it's all based upon results.
Okay.
Right. You open up a restaurant door, and when you close at night, hopefully you've got some profit.
Okay.
Right. So the result is, did I move forward? And if yesterday you didn't move forward, one of these 6 areas had more strength over you.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right.
You had all of the good, right? Good and hell is paved with good hell. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. What's that phrase?
I heard that phrase before. I don't know if I verbatim, be honest with you.
I'm sure somebody on here will have heard it. The point is that good intentions aren't enough.
Okay.
Discipline is.
All right.
Understanding the difference between distraction and disappointment. We get disappointed over things. We some of us, there's no reason for us to be frustrated at all. Because everything we've done has got us exactly where we're at. We can't be frustrated with that. Oh, I could have done more. No, you couldn't have. Your story was strong to keep you from doing it. You got to have some discipline. And the discipline is to actually look at your motivation and your ability and decide what you are going to actually do. Because to be 100% clear,
okay,
your intention has got you right where you are. Congratulations, where you're at, it's your fault.
Gotcha.
Bad or indifferent. If you won yesterday, congratulations, it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna take the glory for the win, you got to take the glory for the loss. You can't say, "Look what I did," and then when you fail, go, "Look what they did." So it does take some time in this introspection, deep self-introspection. When you look at your personal motivation and your social motivation and your structural motivation, And then your personal ability, your social ability. What can you do? So how many people do we know that are starting a diet and they get a reminder going, oh, tomorrow we got to go to the birthday party. Well, I'll just cheat in the birthday party.
Yeah.
You got to set up your social ability. There's a buddy of mine lost 135 pounds since June on our product, and he's been on it for 4 years prior, but he finally made a decision. Decision means to cut off. And we went on a trip. Some of you know I went to the Bahamas. They took their top leaders to the Bahamas. So Michelle and I got to go, and we stayed at Paradise. Was it Paradise? The one with the arch, the bridge that goes between them. And we stayed there at the Bahamas at that hotel. It was gorgeous. But when we were out on the cruise, when we were out on the chartered yacht that we were all going to play with the sea toys, the sea doos and all of that stuff, he ate tuna fish. He had his little packs of tuna fish. He ate them, right? He squeezed a little lemon in it. And he ate tuna fish. We had we had lobster tails, we had filet, we had all of this stuff. He ate the tuna fish. So he had his social ability to give him the strength. He had his structural ability in place. So he didn't have to worry about cheating, worrying about, right? That's commitment. But now he's down to size 34 jeans, and he feels great. He got engaged to the love of his life, and now all of a sudden they're having this journey. He's getting ready to get married. It's like everything is falling in place for him, yada, yada, yada. How bad do you want it? How good is it going to make you feel? What desire is going to allow you to finally make the decision to cut off? Decision means to cut off. Incision means to cut in. What can you finally do to make the decision to make it happen? No excuses. You've been working in 1 or 2 areas instead of all 6. That help, LaToya?
Yes, that helped a lot. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
You bet. Love you tons. Thank you for being here.
All right, love you all as well.
Gisela, good morning, Gisela. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Sean. Good morning, Misfits. Happy start of the week today. I gotta tell you, Sean, yesterday I spent my whole afternoon doing my vision board. I had my goals, I wrote affirmations, I put phrases, I put things that really motivate me. And this morning, before the call, I did a little prayer and I asked God to give me, in your call, the direction where I needed to go with this board. And, you know, he heard my call and you talked about today structure, giving, you know, ideas. What are some of these key points that we need to incorporate so we can make sure we're moving forward in our goals? And as I was getting ready to, you know, hop on the call, my cats were all crazy in my living room. I had 8 cats, so I'm a cat girl. And they're all over the place. And guess what? They throw my board on the floor. And let me show you right now. Let me see if I can turn this so you can see where they, well, let me show you. Where is my vision board right now?
They want to help. They want to pour their energy into it.
Yeah, they did. You know, they were all jumping, and as I'm in the call, I hear it. They knock it down, and they're laying on the vision board. So I hope this is a good sign.
Well, so here's the thing: the energy that you put into the board, right? Of course, the cats are sitting on it because now they want to feel it. So that's one thing. But the second thing is that there was a part of you that they're tuned into that made you feel that your energy actually, because you now have a vision board, you're somebody that when you set a goal up, when you put things down, you need to get them done. That's the way you were raised. It's if you say it's going to be done, hell or high water, it's going to get done. Even if it's got to like make you bring in wet sweat and all of this other stuff, you're going to get it done. So let me explain something. This is what's downloading to me right now. The fact that you did the vision board yesterday and that you asked God for some help, and now the cats are toying with it and knocking it all over. You created it, literally, you created a disturbance in the force. I know that sounds crazy, but you created a disturbance in the force because the cats don't normally knock down one particular thing. They may play around and knock stuff all over, but there wasn't a focus on the board. How did they know to focus on the board?
I don't know. Well, they started to jump on the couch, and I've been calling, and they're starting to cry to play in it, and I've been like, "Hey, get off it!" And all of a sudden, they jump into the board and the board, and they all ran away, and now they're all on the board.
So because I literally, so I'm gonna tell. I'll go back to an experience. I used to do direct mail, where but I did the direct mail that was the postcards that had all of that you filled out with a big thick black magic marker. You wrote it, and then you had the postcards printed with that black magic marker, and then you hand wrote in each name, so it looked like the whole thing was handwritten, right? So now somebody would receive that and they go, "Oh my God, they wrote me the entire note." But what they didn't know is that all you wrote was the first name, but the whole rest of it was written in black magic marker, but printed that way. So I say this to say this. I used to send out 1,000 a week, and I would do split tests. I would send out 500 where I prayed over it and 500 where I just put it in the mail. Next week, 500 I prayed over it, 500 I just put in the mail. And I would do that for a few months. Literally. I have no idea. I didn't pick a particular area or demographic or geographic location where I picked the 500. I just picked 500 out of it. I just grabbed a handful. It looked like about 500. And I would say a prayer over. I had a 28% higher response from the ones I prayed over. So think about it. Paper is what? Paper was once what? A living tree.
A tree, exactly.
And if you've ever walked by, if you've ever not talked to a tree, I would encourage you. It is an amazing experience to sit down under the shade of a tree and lean up against its trunk and have a conversation with it. The stories it'll tell you. I was in Panama City, Panama, actually outside of Panama. There's an old military base there. That's and it's a resort. And we would go there on our what were they called? Silver trips. Anyways, we would do these trainings when I was on the corporate team.
I think that's the Melia in Colón.
Yes. So we would go there, and there's this. I think is it a banyan tree? What's the local tree there? I forget what it's called, but it's this tree was. I mean, the limbs on the tree,
like big.
Yeah, the limbs on the tree were like 20 inches in diameter. The limbs. This thing was huge, and every night I would go sit underneath it. Stories it would tell me, the energy I got from it. So, anyways, I say that to say this: paper is energy.
They're trying to pick on it.
Paper's energy, right? If it can change state or form, it's transferable. So paper's energy. You can pour energy into it. When people touch it, they get that energy. Money's energy. I have out in my mailbox. Some of you may want to do this if you have access to the back of your mailbox. I have in the back of my mailbox, I have a little welcome for the money to come into my mailbox. It says, "Welcome, money. You're safe here. You won't be here long because we're going to use you." And that's in the back of my mailbox. Can't really see it unless you're looking for it. But money knows it's there. And guess what always shows up in my mailbox?
Money.
It's happy to be used. So you have the ability, when you did your vision board, you were excited about it, weren't you?
Yeah, I spent like the whole afternoon. I had the whole bed. I was working on the bed.
You're cutting out pictures, you're writing phrases. Your energy was a little higher than other times, and that got poured into there. It is a focal point of energy in your home right now. And when you look at it, you still get excited. Guess what the cats are doing? What's all this energy over here?
Yeah.
Because you know cats are finicky, right? Cats are the last domesticated animal, which is why they still think they run the world. Right? We haven't broke them down yet and made them bend to our rules.
So like they sense all this energy that was put into the board and they just don't know what to do with it.
Exactly. And it's why the Egyptians considered them, right? They were gods. They just have this ability that they're not distracted by human thought.
Mm-hmm.
Or the fact that it doesn't matter what you want. So yeah, that's a little bit of science, but it's probably a lot of hooky pooky hooey wooey. But that's what I think.
Okay. Yeah, but the structure now, I know a few things that I have on my board that I'm going back to the slides, and I'm going to start putting some of the water, some of the different things, the post-it, and a few other things that I'm getting some ideas to reinforce what I put in my board. So thank you.
Because when you have that, when you specifically you have that structure, you can get it done because you'll just squeeze that in. Okay, I just got to do one. Don't have to do it all. Got to do one. You can do that. Every half hour, I'm going to take. There's a bottle of water. I need to go take a sip. I need to drink out. And if an hour goes by and you haven't done one of the tasks, one of the multiple tasks that you need to do, you can just double up in this hour. But it's in the hour you get to fix it, not in the weeks. You got to go back and redo it all.
Yeah.
Cool.
So thank you again, Sean, and wish you all the best too, and love you all.
Love you too. And Gisela, thanks for having me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, because I couldn't even go to sleep till I got this slide done for her. Till I figured
After
out
what?
I was up till 4 o'clock this morning putting this slide together. I had it in the presentation and I didn't know which slide to pull out because it wasn't my decision. But thank you for sending your energy to me to keep me up till 4 o'clock in the morning to get this done. So I thank you.
You're so welcome. It was God aligning us.
I couldn't even think about going to sleep. I at 2 o'clock, I'm like, I got to go to sleep. And then it was this bolt of energy, and I didn't take anything. I didn't go get a cup of coffee. I didn't take one of my energy pills, nothing. So it had to be your love and God tapping me on the shoulder going, Gisela needs you in the morning. Get your button gear. Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm sure it was. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any thoughts, any comments? What'd you learn? What'd you like from this conversation this morning? What did you pick up? What did you take away from this call? There's 39 of you here this morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me. What did you take away from this? What thing could you go, you know what? That was worth being on the call this morning. Would you write down, Brittany? I gotta turn my dang camera off.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Who's that? Is that Bree?
No, this is Amani.
Amani. Good morning, Amani.
Hey, good morning, Sean. So, the thing that I did like that you said, and I did appreciate you saying that, go show love to the people, that show love to the influencers that we all supposedly look up to, because I'm showing love. These people are showing love. We have something in common, right? So go show love to them for showing love. So I did like that, and I appreciate that.
Awesome. I love your hair. I know that probably is not easy to just keep it like that, but that is beautiful. It looks, Edison said this. I think it was Edison. No, Einstein said, make everything as simple as possible. Not simple. As simple as that is, there's just the thickness to it and this body to it and the way that they fold into each other. It's just, it looks gorgeous. And I know that's probably that's weird. Nobody's really.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I take pride in my.
I appreciate you. Thank you for.
All right. You have a great day, a great morning, Sean, and I love you all.
Love you too, Amani. Thank you. Now, Amani, I got to ask you real quick. Come back here for just a second. When you said I love you all, I heard a little New York, but there was another accent there. What's the other accent that I heard?
Oh, it's New York all the way. Long Island.
So, because my mother, I was born in Yonkers, New York.
Okay.
So I hear that. I hear a little bit of my mother. So thank you for reminding me of my mother.
Oh.
So thank you.
I'm a big crybaby. Don't do that, Sean.
I am too. Listen, I don't know if any of you have seen on Netflix, I think it was Netflix, The Little Big Farm, where they go out in California to raise this farm from nothing and dirt. It's I guess an hour and a half movie, maybe documentary story, but it's a farm.
Okay.
I was crying the whole time. because I grew up on a farm. Right? When I was little, my dad bought a farm because he wanted to teach us responsibility. Little did I know. Yeah. We had 200 head of cattle. This wasn't a hobby farm. Yeah, we put up, but to watch them with this farm, and to watch them when the piglets are born, and watch when, you know, the chicken get eaten by the coyote, and to do things, and when one of their dogs gets sick and it gets better, and it's, yeah, I was just, Mason came over and was like laying on my lap with his head on my lap, and we were both watching the TV. Yeah, it was just, yeah, I was crying the whole night.
I can see you definitely crying over that, Sean.
Yeah, it was, but it was joy. Mason kept going. He goes, "This is really," I'm getting emotional now. He goes, "This is really touching." I go, "Mason, this is how I grew up, with watching this life and death and experiences, just planting seed." Jim Rohn. I didn't know Jim Rohn then. The birds got some of our seed. The birds got some, right? And all of that stuff. So, but I heard that. Thank you, you all. And I'm going, that's my mom.
All right. Have a good morning, Sean.
All right. And Brittany, we didn't let you off the hook. Go ahead, my love.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Brittany for people who don't know me. I just want to say nothing really specific about today, but every day I really just feel so grateful that I'm able to listen to not only Sean in the morning, but every single one of you who spread your wisdom and your love and your beautiful energy, because I'm genuinely all about beautiful energy. And, you know, I just feel like it can literally shift somebody's mood from being sad or upset to just feeling happy and grateful. And then you just look at things in a whole new way. And thanks to Sean, I wake up every day and I look at things from a different perspective. Like, I used to go to work and feel like miserable, like drained and tired, fatigued. And now I just go and I'm happy and I'm grateful, and I listen to everybody, and I just kind of understand how everybody's feeling and where they're coming from and why they feel these ways, instead of judging them, just understanding them and really just looking at things from a new perspective. And I just want to thank God and thank you, Sean, because you really opened my eyes in different ways. And I appreciate you so much and your beautiful heart, really. And every single person on this call as well. You all have helped me in tremendous ways. You guys don't even know. You have no idea.
So, Brittany, here's what I want to say. I want to say thank you to you.
Thank you.
You have this desire to want to be a good servant. Understand this, that in your leadership, that when you win, and you winning, and you taking care of you, and you being this person who's excelling in life, listen carefully, you're being of service to others who don't think they could do it, but you are leading. So I want to share this with you because you have this desire to want to be grateful and give gratitude and be in love and be somebody that's sharing and spreading the love. I'm going to ask you, prepare for it to come back to you, right? Because you had to open up and say yes to get on the call. And I'm loving this. I think I'm going to show up in my robe tomorrow. My point is this, is that listen, I'm going to speak to your subconscious for just a second. It's okay for you to exponentially grow and not have to grow at an incremental rate like an oak tree. It's okay for you to go from a seed to a full-grown success, because in that moment you will inspire others who will be watching you, needing you, and say that if you can do it, I can do it. So you will be a good servant in your success. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
It changes the way you hear it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I'm spreading what I heard from like these calls, or because I love Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I've been following him for a long time too, and I feel like a lot of the things that you refer to and say, he also says too, and I'm like, you know, I just want other people to be able to have access to this amazing information. So yeah, I just try to spread it as much as I can, but without, you know, telling people what they should be doing, but just kind of giving them advice and letting them know what has helped me in the past. And
so Brittany, you probably don't watch a whole lot of TV, but have you heard of Gaia television?
So I'm trying to save up the $299 so I can pay that in one shot and then have access to the open workshops and everything. Yeah, I've been looking into it for a few weeks.
Okay, but so his open workshops for Joe Dispenza, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that, but on Gaia, whatever the monthly fee is for the television station for the
Right.
for the app, he has all his whole series of Rewired. It's amazing.
I have to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, so as you build up to that reserve, but it's just I just love him. He's just amazing. And that's where I get the phrase, right? How many of you believe your thoughts can influence your day? His talk from Mexico. Yeah. And everybody raises their hand. You know, he starts off first, everybody look at each other and say you're a genius.
You're a genius.
And then it's how many of you believe your thoughts influence your day? How many of you did that? Mm-hmm. A lot less hands go up.
Yeah.
Love you tons. Thank you for being an open doors to be able to share that to the next generation.
Thank you. Love you all. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Well, there you go, folks. Anyone else? Let's see, Daniela. Daniela, you've got your hand up. Let's go to Daniela on line 3.
Hello, Sean. How are you?
Outstanding, my love.
Great, great. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. You know, I love all of this. I love your calls. I love the information, the value that you bring to our life, and I really, really appreciate it. You know, one of the things that I got from the call was that to be careful not to fall into their pain, you know, when you're trying to help somebody. And I think that happens to me a lot because it's something inside me. I like to help people. Like, I'm sharing all of this information, like the new information that I got, I share it because I feel like the same thing that Brittany said, like, people have to have access to this information. It's just so amazing that, like, not everyone knows about it. So it's just crazy. And, you know, sometimes, you know, I want to help and everything, but sometimes the pain of the person just overwhelmed me. And I think it messed up a little bit with my energy. So, you know, that's where you have to be careful, because then you have to take care of yourself and not contaminate yourself, you know? So it's a tricky one, you know, you want to help, but at the same time, you have to think about yourself. So I think that's what I got from this call. You know, it got me a lot, and I feel.
Daniela, let me ask you a question. So now that you become aware of that, look at what you're going to do for your own self, because the fact that you want to take on somebody else's burden, it's not unnatural, right? We want to be part of a community. We want to be in service of others. We want to help other people. I would ask you to write down this phrase: I'm responsible to them, not for them. All right, I'm responsible to them. I will give them love. I will match them step by step, but I won't drag them. Jim Rohn said, right? You can't carry somebody. You might be able to carry one person on your back too, but you can't carry 3. And when you take on their burden, you're picking them up. You can't go to the gym and lift their weights and watch them get stronger, watch their biceps increase, because you're doing all of the curls. So be responsible to them, not for them. And then ask, when you start to feel that pain coming across, am I taking this on to be responsible for them? I don't need to do that. That's their pain. It's okay if they stay in the pain. What's the phrase? The pain will continue till what? The lesson is learned.
Yeah.
Right? Every alcoholic, every drug addict, we all know that we can't help them till they what? Hit bottom, till they make the decision. Till they stop learning how to shame us, and we realize they're wanting to make us guilty, but they're trying to make us shame us, which means that we're the ones failing. We're the ones taking the drugs, and we're not. But they become very good at being abusive. That makes sense?
A lot. Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Me too. Thank you for being here. Let's see. We got Christine. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning. Oh, okay. Well, my video is not working, so we're gonna turn that back off.
Okay.
But good morning, Grand Rising to all of you. I'm really happy to be on this call this morning with you all today. I recently started listening to you, and I just want to start off with appreciation. Thank you so much for pouring into people, pouring into to me. I really, really, really needed this. And I didn't, you know, like, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you need sometimes until you're like, wow, you know, like I felt that or I needed that. And I've been feeling a lot like that on your calls and on Neno's calls. So thank you. I feel like it's really been helping me change the way I think and the way I interact with others. Like I was out talking with one of my friends the other day, and as I was speaking, she was taking notes, and I was like, "What's like weird writing down what I say?" You know, and it just makes me realize, like, you know, when you get it poured into you, it makes it so much easier for you to pour into others, right? Like, and that, you know, I don't know, it's been really changing the way I think about myself. And I really just want to thank you for that.
So Christine, I'm going to ask you the next question. So now that you've changed, so what was, I'd ask you to go back and here, I'm going to ask you to go back and see what was the transition, what was the moment, what was the thing just before you started to change? And here's how I explain it to my students. Imagine you're in a room in your house and it's pitch black, and you're not sure which room in the house you're in, but you start moving around and you start bumping into things. Maybe you hit your shin on the coffee table. Maybe you bump into the couch, or you hit a chair, or you feel a wall. And just by feeling the wall, and maybe you hit a piece of a painting that's on it, all of a sudden you know exactly which room you're in. Mm-hmm. And even in the dark, you now know what room you're in. You haven't turned on the light yet, because that's going to be the goal, is to turn on the light, right? To see the light. Right. So at some point you found out what room you're in by being on this call, by being on other calls, by being poured into. All of a sudden you've got new information. And this new information gives you a location of where you're at, gives you a place of, you're in a good place because it feels good, right? Wouldn't it be cool if you could recognize the place, the room you're in complete darkness? Doesn't that give you a sense of confidence that you can now find your way around in the dark? Does that make sense? Right. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Now all of a sudden you're in the dark, but now watch this. Now right now with this new information that you have, with this new awareness that you have, you're on your way to the light switch. Some of you think about being in one of your bigger rooms in the dark, and you're on the farthest side of the room, you're the farthest away in the room from the light switch. You all got your place? Now all of a sudden, but you know what room you're in, but you know where the roadblocks are. You know what to expect. You will move slowly. This is where people get all too confused. They think, now that I know what room I'm in, I can run across the room. What would happen if you run across the room and you absolutely know, unless you've been blind your entire life, you could not run across that room? Right. So now you're going to shuffle across the room. It's going to take you a little while. Depends how big the room is. You're going to shuffle across the room. And then you're going to get to where you bump into something and you know you're closer to the light, but the light ain't on yet. That's what today's call is. That's what tomorrow's call is. Maybe that's what the next month of calls is. You're not to the light yet. But then there's that moment. I want you to picture you being in your room, whatever room that is, and your hand is actually on the light switch, whether it's a dimmer switch and it's a button you push in or a switch you flip up. But just before you flip the switch, listen carefully, just before you flip the switch, the room is no longer dark, is it? That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because you know the light hasn't come on yet, because you know you now have the power to turn the light on. The room is no longer dark. There is no more fear. You're just the second before you flip on the switch, there's all of the fear is gone. But the room hasn't been lit yet. Wow. You follow me? Yeah, that's a really great analogy. I mean, this is what one of the gifts that I've been given is to be able to take that thing and put you in that spot just before you flip the switch. Now, here's the thing. If I'm standing in the room with you, what did you tell me? Stay there. You don't know the room. I do. You stand there. I'll go to the light. I'm standing right here. Guess where you're going? You're going to the light. And when you flip on the switch, guess what? I won't even be there anymore. My goodness. You're going to the light to protect me right now. You say, stay there, Sean. I'm going to go to the light. Yeah, and I'm going to flip on the light. I know how to get there because I don't know how to get there, but I can guide you. I can motivate you. I can be that goose behind you that's in the thing going, right? That's turkey or something, right? Whatever a goose sound is, you know what I'm saying? That's and I can motivate you. Go, Christine, you're almost there. How you doing? I'm good. Did you bump into anything? No, I'm not. And if you bump into anything, listen, I can find you by your voice. And I can come help you. And I can say, okay, you okay? Let me help you get up. And you're going to say, stay here. I know the rest of the way. And now all of a sudden you're at the light. All of your fear is gone. All of your doubt is gone. I want you to get to that light switch. You don't even have to turn on the light because the room is already lit. Because you can see it all, even in the dark.
That's powerful.
If you know if you know this, if you walk through that scenario, if every one of you just walk through that scenario, here's what the challenge is that you now know what you need to do next. You're in a room you already know. I'm not asking you to come to my house. How would you feel if I took you to my house and put you in the dark? You'd be okay, but it'd be like, holy crap, how much crap does he have in this place? Right? Especially if the dogs run by. One of the dogs would run by because they'd probably jump up on you. Jameson would jump up on you and go, oh, what's that? And I tell you, it's Jameson. You go, oh my God, he scared me. Don't do that. I'm afraid of dogs. Oh, I didn't know that. And but it's now it's my house. I don't need you in my house. I need you in your house. You already know the way to the light switch. And when you turn that on, guess what we can do? Once we turn the light on in your house, guess what we can do? We can go out and we can start turning on lights down the street.
I love that. I love that.
Maybe
wow,
that.
Thank you so much.
Maybe that's what this whole call was for. Did that make sense, y'all?
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, Dr. Wayne Dyer says, because you said it, Christine, you said it. No, Daniela said it. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Amen to that.
That's all we did there, is we took our own darkness. And now once we realized, how many of you you felt a calming effect realizing you're still in your own house in the dark? How many of you feel all of a sudden you've just had this calmness going, I know this, I feel this, I can do this. Because you didn't have to leave your home. You're in the dark in your own home. You can go turn on the light switch. The question is, does it even need to be lit now that you know you're in your own room? How many of you would love to be able to sit quietly in the dark? You don't need to shuffle over to the light switch. How many of you can see in the dark? This is what Sadhguru said. When you become aware, you can see in the dark. When you become aware, you can see in the dark. I promise you, Ralph's getting up right now, and if the lights went out in his house, there'd be some light from the outside that came in. But if it was pitch black and he knew that he had to get to the stove, he could get to that stove. He could do it. He could absolutely do it, because the motivation to make sure the food was still okay, because maybe he's got a gas oven, maybe he's got a gas top stove. The power wouldn't go out. It wouldn't go out. And you go, well, the electric's out. I can't stop cooking. No, the heat's still on, baby. How many of us are on a gas stove right now and it's in the dark, but the heat's still on?
Amen.
I love you. Christine, thank you for reminding us all of this story, because you reminded me and I got to share it with everybody. But without you, I didn't get to tell this story. So I need you to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I was looking for. That's what I was hoping for. Every one of you shared something that allowed us all to get to this point. I haven't told that story in a while. Thank you for allowing me to remember it. Thank you all for being here to do that. Daniela and Brittany and LaToya and everybody. That felt good. Anyone else? Brittany,
I raised my hand because I wanted to ask you something, kind of like, not really on a personal level, but just asking you your opinion on what you think I should do.
Okay.
So I read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I made an entire outline from induction on week 1 to the week 4 of creating my own mind, right? And I know that we need a sacred place to meditate.
Yep.
But I don't have that place right now. So would you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, please.
So, what is the table that you're sitting at? Would you? How do you call that table?
This is my dinner table, but I know that the reason why I haven't done it here is because my feet aren't touching the floor.
Okay.
And he said, you know, make sure your feet are flat on the ground and whatever the case may be. So go ahead, sorry.
Have you heard him talk about standing and walking meditation?
No, I haven't.
So he goes into he talks about walking meditation in some of his other stuff. And what they're finding out is that what if you could walk around your home and your whole home is a place of peace? Have you ever saged your home?
No.
Okay, so you might want to get that. Go on Amazon, get some white sage, get organic stuff. But sage your home and just go into the corners. Now you're gonna have. Can you open some windows?
Yes.
Okay. So open some windows, because once you're saging and it lets all of the negative energy needs a place to go out, because it needs to run. So don't keep your windows closed when you do that, even if you crack it just a little bit. But when you do that, it'll be that'll help, but that'll make the whole home a sacred place.
Okay. Perfect.
Right. And the other thing I would do is wherever you want to meditate at, whether it be walking or sitting with your feet on the floor, have something of high importance to you. Right. So I have these kinds of things, these touchstones all over my home. In my in the bedroom, in the book stand next to my bed, actually by my bride's bed, is a book that was given to me by the former president of Mexico. He signed it for President Fox. So that's a touchstone. That's a memory that I deal with royalty, and I deal with the people who influence the world. Right. So there's all of these little touchstones all around my house. Wherever I go, up the stairs, there's a little thing that we hang Mason's clothes on so he can take it up. There's this little pig. Right. So that's an energy spot for me. Right. Reminds me of the farm and the pigs we used to have growing up. I say all of that to say, make your home a sacred place. Don't worry about letting the sacred place find you. You're already it.
Okay. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. That helps.
Rob Cardenas, are you still here, brother? I saw his hand.
Yeah, hello.
How are you, brother?
What's going on, everybody? How are you? Just literally chilling up here in Michigan with about 8 inches of snow yesterday. Yeah, I know, fun. Anyway, really quick. So we're talking about being in the dark and everything else. And just, one of the things that occurred to me is that we all sometimes, well, it was asked to me, I think maybe Sean's also mentioned it, but even years ago, when was the last time you ever actually moved your bed? And you got 4 posts on the bed on the floor, and you kick you end up kicking the bed, kick the bedpost. But it's like the attitude is like, oh my God. So like, today I started my day, I stubbed my toe in my room, and it's just, now that it just piles on from there. And then now you tell everybody that story. I mean, it's, it's just something that you choose. And so that's what occurred to me when you talked about, in the dark, or, in your own home. And it's just the choice you make actually on, what energy you're going to give for the rest of the day. So just a little quick story.
I appreciate that. And folks, Rob's one of the founding misfits here. He's been with us since the beginning, since we laid the bricks, if you will. But one of the things I love about him is that we actually got to witness or be a part of his proposal to his bride, to his fiance, over the course of our calls. And he's got this amazing capacity to understand people. He's been a manager of food and beverage, of country clubs, and a variety of things. And just this amazing soul who loves to give back to people. So I'm always blessed to have him on the call. Thanks, bro.
I appreciate it. And just a really quick note on that, talking about, the influence of who you're around and everything else. And, we all have troubles in our life, but the opportunity to actually know your own self-worth and actually trying to welcome that love in, and to actually have somebody that actually loves you and appreciates you for who you are. That's been part of my journey, and the opportunity to actually still understand, obviously reach out to this network of people actually, has helped with that, with my growth and everything else. But, going through a large breakup and everything else was extremely difficult and trying, but yet at the same time, knowing deep inside that, I am enough and I can do it. It's been amazing. So I think everybody, you know, obviously this, you know, your network is your net worth. It's not always about money, like Sean says too.
You're absolutely right, brother. Appreciate you, man. All right, folks, if there's no more questions, I do appreciate you all. And just thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for everybody sharing and asking their questions. Thank you for the energy that you all pour into each other. And tomorrow morning starts bright and early, 6:30 a.m. for Central Standard, folks. I appreciate you so much. I'm Sean Murphy, founder of Mental Profits. I'll see y'all where? At the next event. Say bye to each other.
Bye. Have a great day.
Everybody have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Hey, bye, everybody.
Lunch at Ralph's in 2 hours.
Yeah, bring it on. Let's go.
Let's go. See y'all tomorrow.
Bye.
All right.
See.